Alrighty, so we got General Tower versus General Alexander, but I can't build any units. So no units from the Command Center, Supply Center, Barracks, War Factory, or Airfield. Supply trucks that spawn from supply centers are allowed, and the dozer that we're using to build the reactor, that is the only dozer we'll be using here today. Now, this is kind of an experiment here, so I was playing around with different strategies, and I decided partway through to just turn this into the video. So what happened was I went for Gatling cannon scaffolds right next to Alexander's particle cannon, and as you can see, I lost the first Gatling cannon scaffold, so I'm doing this with $1,200 less. Now, the whole idea of this strategy is to actually make the A-10 strike go for her particle cannon instead of whatever supply center scaffolds we put up at our base. That is normally how you would do it. So we cancel out those two Gatling cannon scaffolds. Normally I would do 3 Gatling cannon scaffolds just to ensure that the A-10s hit their mark and go for what I've baited out, because the A-10 strike goes on cash value. So even with 2 Gatling cannon scaffolds, the A-10s have gone for her particle cannon, and that's kind of good news for me. But I didn't know if this strategy was going to work, because what I need Alexander's second A-10 strike to also hit the particle cannon, but I've also got to hope that the particle cannon's auto repair doesn't repair it enough. So with that particle cannon, that one is going to specifically go for barracks or supply centers, depending on which building is closer to Alexander's base. So for me, by taking out that particle cannon, it means that I could basically spend $500 less or $1,500 less for the bait out on that particle cannon specifically. Another thing that is a good thing is if you were to set up your supply center at the second set of resources at the artillery platform, then it would mean that you wouldn't have to sell off that supply center to bait out the particle cannon. So yeah, there's a few upsides, but also it's going to have a couple of downsides, like Alexander's going to have 10 less power being used, so it'll take a little bit longer for you to take her offline, and yeah, just little tiny things like that. It's not the most mind-blowing strategy, but it's something a little bit gimmicky. So we're just setting up the barracks next, so we need the barracks to bait out the first particle cannon, but I also want the barracks to set up some bunker scaffolds so then I can bait out the Aurora bombers. So we can bait out those Aurora bombers by sacrificing a little bit of cash. I didn't put up enough scaffolds though, so I did lose my Gatling cannon, and I took heavy damage to my reactor. So normally I would place my reactor to my right of the command center and not in front of it, but again, I wasn't really playing to win here. I was playing in experimental mode, just seeing if this A-10 strategy would work, and I was planning on just exiting the game if I was able to successfully destroy the particle cannon. But yeah, when I paused, I just changed my mind and decided to go into serious mode and then see if I can make a comeback from where I was at that particular point in the battle. So right now we're going for some repairs on that reactor and then just making up my mind as to what to do next. So I was thinking maybe we should spend a little bit of cash on Gatling cannons in the left, because there's going to be Chinooks that drop off some units at that particular spot. But I also thought, well, perhaps I shouldn't build those Gatling cannons. Perhaps I should conserve what cash I got left so then I can actually bait out the A-10 strike here. So money was tight. Losing that $1,200 in the beginning was kind of a big loss for me, because it's like I can't build the Gatling cannons I want to build just yet, because I got to bait out that A-10 strike. So with the particle cannon almost ready to go, I'm getting my Gatling cannons into position, just figuring out the right spot here. So the way to do it is to basically line up the Gatling cannon with the caution that's written on the ground next to the particle cannon, and then that way you can avoid taking any damage from the fire bases. Now, another risk with this strategy is going to be her patrolling Comanches. There could be a chance where the patrolling Comanches might shoot those scaffolds down, and then you've just lost, in this case, $2,400 worth of scaffolds. So there are going to be other risks involved. And there is also a way where you can actually get the A10 strike to destroy those 2 Avengers, but you got to time it just right when you cancel those scaffolds, because those Avengers are just going to go right back into position. So the A10s are coming, and because it didn't auto repair enough, the A10s destroyed the particle cannon for me. So just like that, we're able to deal with Alexander with 1 less particle cannon, and we didn't even really have to do anything except put up those scaffolds. So very good, very successful experiment here, and now we can set up our Gatling cannons, and then we can take out the Chinooks that try and sneak into our base. So at this moment, this is where I ended up pausing the game here, and that's where I made my choice as to whether I wanted to exit the game or continue. So it didn't take me long to make a choice, and I'm still in experimental mode a little bit. So I'm just seeing if I can build Gatling cannons next to the other particle cannons. Now, that is not possible here because we're on 2 different islands. So if my dozer was on the same island as Alexander's base, then it would be possible to set up those Gatling cannon scaffolds, but I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. So yeah, I can't destroy any more particle cannons this way. I've just got to play this out and then see if I can destroy the supply center, go for the airfield. So pretty much the standard way where you would destroy Alexander's stuff by breaking apart her tech tree. So right now I'm going to go for my Gatling cannons on the left, so then I can take out those Chinooks that try and sneak into my base. So a couple of Gatling cannons is good here. Remember, these Gatling cannons don't have chain guns yet, so I do need 2 in order to be able to successfully take out that Chinook as well. Now, since we're playing as General Tao, it does mean our our reactors are upgraded compared to General Kwai or General Fei, giving us 18 power instead of 10 power. So we're going to be able to build up about 6 Gatling cannons before we need to set up a new reactor. So after setting up my Gatling cannons at the left, I wanted to move my dozer off to the right, so then we can build another nuclear reactor. See, we're good on power right now, but my reactor in front of my command center is still a risk here because it could get taken out by Aurora bombers or Comanches, and I don't really feel keen on moving my dozer over there to make any repairs because I don't want to lose my dozer either. So I set up my bait for the A10s and the next particle cannon. So there's going to be 2 particle cannons that will fire for the next round, but both of those particle cannons will fire in the exact same spot on 1 reactor. So I just got to make sure that I keep setting up my reactor bait and keep setting up my A10 bait, and we're going to be good here. So I did take the risk and I moved in on the repairs for the reactor and the command center. It usually, when it comes to the Aurora bombers, they take their time in attacking after the particle cannons and A10s have made their move. So I felt comfortable about making the repairs there, but this was kind of risky what I'm about to do. I'm moving my dozer over to the artillery platform here, and I'm building a Gatling cannon right next to it. So the platform can't hit my dozer because we're too close, but the Gatling cannon will be within range of the platform, so we can eventually destroy it. Here's the thing though, I ended up making a mistake because when you move your dozer into this part of the map, it can actually trigger Alexander's Chinook to drop off more units. So I wasn't really thinking about that, and it's about to happen in just a sec. And the reason why I consider this a big mistake is because I don't have any Gatling cannons that can pick off these infantry. See, if I just set up 1 Gatling cannon next to my nuclear reactor or my command center, we would have been fine, but yeah, I didn't do that. And so I just have to take the L here. We're going to lose our command center and we're going to lose our reactor, and I just got to hope that what I've got left is going to be enough to beat Alexander from this point. So we just got our second GAT, so then we can use that to also attack the platform, and the quicker we destroy the platform, the quicker we can get our dozer back to base to build whatever we need. And we can also use our dozer to build up supply centers and other GATs in that section where the artillery platform is. Now I wish I'd just sold off my command center and my reactor here, because the thing is we didn't exactly need to buy time. We could have just recouped the money and then let the Gatling cannons pick off the infantry should the infantry get anywhere near the Gatling cannons. So the Gatling cannons did take out a good chunk of the infantry, but 2 missile defenders ended up going for my supply center, so that I at least sold off, and I did keep my supply truck out of harm's way here, so we can use him later to gather supplies. Now after these 2 missile defenders go, I just got to figure out a way to basically regroup. So 3 more Comanches came into play here, so 2 Gatling cannons versus 3 Comanches. That's not too bad. If it's like 1 Gatling cannon versus 3 Comanches, it's going to be very close. But yeah, what happened here was we ended up losing the artillery platform, which is good, so we can use our dozer to build things, but I think either a Comanche took a shot on my dozer or the destruction of the platform did damage to my dozer. So it might have been one of those 2 things. Now I was able to set up my A10 bait and my particle bait just in time, so we can get away from those 2 things. But I really do need to get my dozer to a war factory, or just put him under a speaker tower or something like that. That way I can get him back to full health, because him just being on red with a sliver of health, it doesn't really make me feel good. So I ended up going for the supply center first. That way I can get my other truck to gather the resources. So we'll have 2 trucks gathering resources. Then I'm going to go for the reactor. I'm basically just building things on my way over to where I want to build my war factory to then get my dozer healed up. So now that we got the reactor, I want to go for the war factory next. So since I'm not building any units from the war factory, it doesn't matter how I point the war factory in this case, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to build it in a way where I can just get my dozer to the repair bay as quickly as possible, so that's why I pointed it like that. So now that my dozer's healed, I wanted to move my dozer back to where my Gatling cannons are with the supply center, and then I can continue to build up those Gatling cannons. See, those Gatling cannons don't really get targeted by Alexander's Aurora bombers and Comanches, so it's very easy for me to just pick off those planes when they fly into my base, or when they make their return flight back to her base. So I ended up stopping the build on my Gatling cannon so then I can set up my particle bait and my A10 bait again, and I got very lucky here because Alexander's particle cannons destroyed 3 of her Aurora bombers, so I only lost 1 GAT as a result here, so that's very good news. I do wish I could have gotten the EXP out of that, but you know, we can still get EXP from nuclear missiles too, so I did think that was going to be the case, because it's like she's not really attacking me all that much, and because she's not attacking me, it means that I can't generate the EXP I need to barrage her supply center, and then later on barrage her airfield to take the Aurora bombers and Comanches out of the game permanently. So with that in mind, it means that the only alternative to getting the EXP is going to be through nuclear missiles. So I've got to be able to build up enough Gatling cannons for defense to basically pick off any Aurora bombers that try and attack, but also be able to build up a war factory again and then get to propaganda center and nuclear missiles. Now the other thing to keep in mind is going to be money. See, I've got a limited amount of money to collect on this island, and I've got no oil derricks here, so the 30 grand and then those 3 cash piles, which is like 37.50 each. So that's all I've got to work with, and I've just got to hope that I don't lose a lot of cash here, because I need to build up those nukes. Even if I can just get 1 nuke, it's still going to be enough to help me generate that EXP to then build up to the artillery barrage and the nuke carpet bomb. So once again, particle cannon bait and A10 bait has been done. I did also do some bunker bait and some Gatling bait for the Aurora bombers, so then I could keep building up those Gatling cannons at my main base, and that way I can be a bit more comfortable about building the war factory and the propaganda center later on. So as I cancelled out these scaffolds, I realized something. I didn't actually collect the cash crate next to the oil derricks, so I was like, okay, well, who have I got to collect? And I was like, oh, well, we could use our dozer, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I've still got a supply truck that's off to the left, so we'll just use him to get the cash. Now, that cash crate is going to be worth $2,500 here. So I was talking about money being an issue, potentially, so that's very good news. Now, with our dozer, I did move to the left as well anyway, so then I can rebuild the command center. So we didn't have to build the command center at this stage of the game, but we do have the radar ability, and I thought that might be a good move, so then I can actually see when the Aurora Bombers and Comanches are coming. That way I can just get my dozer out of harm's way before the Aurora Bombers make their move and potentially destroy whatever building that we're at. So we're still going to keep the bunker scaffolds and the Gatling cannon scaffold just in case. I'd rather the scaffold get destroyed rather than the actual GATs that are being built. Now I did get my propaganda center, and once again A10 bait, particle bait, gone a little bit more GATs on the A10 bait because we've got the war factory and the propaganda center now, so just really making sure that I can bait out those A10s successfully. So now I'm going to make my move on the nuclear missile. So when it comes to nukes or any super weapon, there's a big risk that Alexander's Aurora Bombers could fly in and destroy that super weapon, because she'll normally send all 4 of them to destroy the super weapon. So if you got your dozer next to it, that's even worse, because you could also lose your dozer too. So going for 2 nukes right off the bat. I've got 6k, gone for the sell-off on 1 supply center too. See, because we've got all these nukes now, money's going to be super tight, because I need to retain enough cash to do the A10 bait plus the particle cannon bait. So I can only really afford the 2 nukes right now. So I'm going to go for that particle bait with the reactor, and then I've got $6,400 left, which is going to be my A10 bait from here on. So just going to go with like 5 or 6. Yeah, 5 for this one. Sometimes I will do 6 or 7 GATs if it's a little overkill, but I really just want to make sure that I successfully bait out those A10s. So I did get that Chinook sneak attack as well, but because we got the 2 GATs there, we're just fine. Also, for anybody wondering why I've got 1 supply truck off to the side, reason being is because I wanted to have him just in case the Aurora Bombers took a shot on my supply center. That way I can rebuild the supply center and then have 2 trucks gathering resources. Now 2 trucks gathering resources at close distance is the way to do it. That's the more optimal way of collecting supplies. So that's why we're doing that. Now with the supply trucks, there is another reason why I do want to keep them intact, and that's also going to be for bait reasons. So besides just using Gatling cannon scaffolds, you can also use your supply trucks and even your dozer to act as the bait to bait out those A10 strikes. So later on you'll see that I'll mix in my supply trucks with Gatling cannon scaffolds. That way I can increase the value of that one spot to then make it so the A10s will hit that spot. But we'll move the trucks out of the way and cancel the scaffolds just like before. So once again, I just got to keep playing the waiting game, and we're almost there with our nuclear missiles. Once we get our first one down to 0, we can finally do some damage to Alexander and then go for that supply center. I could pick a different target, but going for the supply center means that I can then target the war factory or the airfield, preventing Alexander from building Avengers, Comanches, and Aurora Bombers. Mainly the Comanches and the Aurora Bombers are going to be the big threat, because they could destroy my super weapons, they could destroy my dozer, they could ruin my life pretty much. So, gonna go for the bait on the A10s and the particle cannon as well. Now the nuclear missile, we took out the Comanches, the Chinook, the Splicer, and a few Avengers too. Not enough for rank 3, but it is a good start. And we've got another nuclear missile that's going to be ready in less than a minute too. So again, we just got to wait on that. With my next nuke, I went for the war factory instead of the airfield, because Alexander has 6 Avengers near the war factory, and I thought that maybe, just maybe, she would have built more Avengers, meaning I could generate even more EXP to get to rank 4, rank 5. So I thought with 6 Avengers that would get us to rank 3 at the very least, and then I can get the new Carper Bomber and the artillery barrage, and we can use the barrage on the airfield, and I know that a level 2 barrage is enough to destroy an airfield anyway. So just like that, we've gotten rid of the airfield and the war factory, and if I'd used the nuke on the airfield instead, I'm sure that would have gotten us to rank 3 at least, and then we could have just switched the roles. But I thought the potential of destroying like 20 Avengers all in one go would have been a much better use of a nuclear missile. So since we destroyed that airfield, it does mean that Alexander's going to send 3 Comanches after me, but since I've got a boatload of Gatling cannons now, that's going to be easy work. So just like that, we just got to play the waiting game now and wait on our next batch of nuclear missiles and other general powers, and then we can continue to keep picking her apart. So we've used our nukes and our barrage. I've got one more power left, and this is going to be my Carper bomb. So I used that on Alexander's Avenger. So the reason why I used it on the Avenger is because I want to weaken Alexander's anti-air defense, but the Avenger's also going to give me good EXP as well, so then I can rank up too. So by weakening Alexander's anti-air defense, it does mean that I can get future Carper bombs and other general power planes into her base more easily, and then I can combo those planes together to destroy more buildings without having to rely on nuclear missiles and barrages to get me by. Now, once again, I've got to set up my A10 bait and particle bait. The A10 bait, that's going to be the last time that we got to do A10 bait, because we got 2 nukes that are going to be ready to go before her particle cannons. So I am going to go for a command center next. Once we get rid of the command center, no more A10s. And the command center for Alexander is something that doesn't get rebuilt. So even if she keeps her 2 doses, she won't rebuild her command center, but she will rebuild her other buildings if they get destroyed. Now, because we destroyed the supply center, she won't be able to rebuild her airfield or war factory, so those are 2 other things that can't be rebuilt right now. So I'm just waiting on my barrage to be ready, that way I can combo it together with my nuclear missile. Now, I didn't want to take any chances here, so I'm waiting on my barrage to get a little bit closer. That way there's no chance the command center will do any auto repairs and be left with 1 HP when I nuke it. So command center's gone, that's great news for me. 1 dose is going to go in for the repairs on the power plant, but it doesn't matter anyway because I'm going to use my second nuclear missile to hit both doses, and then that way I know that she's not going to do any rebuilding with her power plants. So all I got to do now is bait out the next particle cannons and then just wait on the next batch of nukes and barrage, and then we're good to go. So I got my rank 5, I went for EMP pulse, I went for cluster mines, and I went for the repairability. Don't need the repairability, but I use it anyway to heal up one of my supply trucks, so I'm just trying to be a good general there. So now I've got 3 different general power planes that I can utilize to try and break down Alexander's base. So I tried to use my cluster mines EMP and nuke Carper bomber to destroy 1 power plant. And as you can see, there goes the cluster mines. The EMP did go off, and I did lose the nuke Carper bomb. He got 1 shot off, but it doesn't help me, so the destruction of the power plant was unsuccessful. Now, if I targeted the power plant next to the fire base, I think I would have had a better chance of destroying that one. So now I'm just back to the drawing board. I just decided to just sell off a bunch of buildings, selling off my barracks, selling off my war factory, so then I can get another nuke on board. She's got no more A10s to use, so I only really need $1,200 to bait out her attacks, which is only going to be the particle cannons. So as long as I just have $1,200 at least, I can keep doing that, and then we can keep nuking her into oblivion. So for anybody wondering about it, I didn't sell off my buildings sooner because I just didn't think of it at the time. So had I thought of it, I would have sold off my buildings about 10 minutes earlier after I destroyed her airfield. That way I could have built the extra nuke sooner, and then I could have fired an extra nuke on Alexander, basically beating her a little bit quicker. But in any case, that's how I beat General Alexander as General Tau without building any units. So if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I do have a playlist if you want to check out any of my other content. I'm Crackler, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
We are victorious.
It's not fair. 1 more superweapon and I would have beaten you, General. Challenge me again. I dare you.